Alright, y'all. So I have a thing where I like to read a random chapter out of this book, and this chapter just so happened to be one page, which is kind of disappointing because I'm like, girl, I thought I was gonna be reading for a little minute, but one page is okay. You start somewhere. Um, and this chapter was called "The Scar." So basically, like I said, this is Chicken Soup for the Soul. This book is Chicken Soup for the Soul, for the soul. It's fourth edition. And while I was reading it, um, if you haven't read it, basically what it's about is there's a child who's embarrassed of his mother because she has a visible scar on her face that like never goes away. And he never talks about why he's embarrassed of the scar. He never talks about how his mother got the scar. He never talks about any of that. He just is embarrassed because she has a scar on her face and she's a beautiful woman. So he asks his mother if she wants to go to this parent teacher conference, and she actually said yes, and he was surprised and actually very nervous because he didn't want his teachers, or I guess anyone, to see what his mother looked like. So they went, of course, to the parent teacher conference, and the mom was talking to the teachers and getting to know the peers and everything, and the young boy was like hiding the entire time because he was embarrassed of what other people would think of his mother's scar or his parents' past or whatever the case may be. And in my head, I'm automatically looking at it from a third eye point of view. So I'm like, this to me represents generational curses and generational binds. So, like, our parents have that physical scar. They have that scar of the abandonment issues, the fucking self-esteem issues, the everything that we have times literally, probably more than likely times 10, because when we were born we got part of that from our parents. And that being said, we don't know what caliber they are on in trauma or in things that they're holding on to. So, like I said, I automatically thought that the scar represented a generational curse. And generational curses aren't something that's necessarily physical, but you can see it on somebody. Like, sometimes the way that people handle themselves, how they maneuver, how they walk, how they talk, you can tell how their generation, like what their generation of people look like, because of how we carry ourselves. Because certain people would not stand for their generations to act a certain way or to maneuver a certain way. So we can see it physically but also spiritually. But in my head, it's like the generational wounds that we are embarrassed of, this generation, our generation, these younger generations of people, we're embarrassed of the generational wounds that our parents and our, ancestors hold on to, that being poverty, fucking slave mentality, them overworking, not having a good health, good healthy mindset, good health physically. All of these stuff is generational. You know what I'm saying? And we're embarrassed of the things that they endured when they endured it for the betterment of us. If my ancestors wouldn't have died due to heart issues, I wouldn't have known that I'm predisposed to heart issues. I wouldn't know to stay the fuck away from pork at such a young age. I wouldn't know to make sure that I'm dieting and keeping a hold on certain spices and fluids and certain additives and all this other stuff. I wouldn't know that if I didn't have those people in my ancestry that had to experience the other side of it, that had to be scarred by it. I wouldn't have known my value if my ancestors weren't undervalued. I would not understand or understand or overstand what the fuck my reasoning for being on this earth is if they wouldn't have been tested and been asked, like, what is your reason for being here? if they wouldn't have even necessarily failed and have been scarred by trying to do what it is that they're trying to do, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be making these strides to the betterment of the fucking world. Like, not even just my community, not even just the people who I know, bruh. I'm trying to change the fucking world, like one whatever the hell at a time. And in order for us to do that, we have to start really like looking at the big picture and not such small details. I'm a small detail in the big picture of, bitch, the world. You know what I'm saying? Of my generation, the generations that came before me, that come after me, all of that. I'm looking at the small picture, the small details, which is me, myself, and how I feel right now, and how I want to be lazy, and how I don't want to record this, and how I don't want to promote that, and how I da 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 da. But then I have to realize that they fought for me to do that. They fought for me to do this shit. They fought for me to fight, for me to have this fight, for me to have this open opportunity, this open space. Because I'm telling you, they didn't have these opportunities. They really didn't. They didn't have these opportunities, which is why they got scarred. His mom didn't have the opportunity to just walk away unscathed without thinking about a fucking child. No, she had to go in there and make sure that her child was going to be safe regardless of who was there to help or not. That's fearlessness, which brings me to another part. Bravery. Although taking brave actions may leave you with scars, you will come out victorious. You know how many Vikings have like visibly shown scars from fighting bears, from fighting other coalitions and all this other stuff. And what do they have to show from it? How brave they were. This scar shows how brave I was in the fight against the bear. This scar right here shows how brave I was against a fight against another Viking coalition. This you know what I'm saying? All of the scars that we endure, all of the scars that they endured, tell a story of how we can be greater, how we can heal parts of us that we may not have healed before, how we can literally continue to be victorious no matter what the fight is. Just remember that scars and battle wounds are a blessing, because sometimes you won't get to wake up to see them wounds, bro. You won't even have the opportunity to see those wounds because your eyes been closed for however long. So you should be grateful for the fact that you were able to battle up against something that tried to defeat you. First of all, something tried to defeat you and you were able to battle that shit and come out victorious with just a scrape, with just a scratch. But with your arms, your legs, your limbs, your this, your that, your mind, your vitality, your love, your everything still intact. That's a blessing. So that being said, we need to realize, accept, and acknowledge the sacrifices that God, our spirit teams, our our ancestors, the people who are alive still right now, we have to recognize them and thank them for the sacrifices that they made for us to be who the fuck we are today. Nothing happens without gratitude, period. So if you can't take the time to thank anybody that's a part of the reason why you're getting to the next level, then you have no opportunity to get there, period. And we should also keep in mind that these sacrifices were made for the betterment of us, and not even just us, but the people who we're going to create in terms of our lineage, our contribution to the generation, to our lineage. You feel what I'm saying? They did not just make that sacrifice for themselves. They did not just make that sacrifice for the people who happened before them. They made the sacrifice for all of us in mind, which means I got to make the sacrifice for all of us in mind. We got to make the sacrifice for all of us in mind. And these wounds that I have, because baby, I done racked up some wounds. I'm going to tell you, I done racked up some scars. These scars that I have, I pray to God that I will be able to continue to use them in different ways to express how much I am thankful for the growth that I've gone through, how much I'm thankful for the things that I've had to go through, because if it had not been, I wouldn't learn shit like this. I wouldn't even think I wouldn't even think this deep. I wouldn't even be able to connect this shit with y'all, with nobody, with anything. And that's one thing that I really love about myself, is that like, no matter what, I can always bring a different perspective to every single thing that you're thinking or you're doing. Like, I will always have a different perspective, or I can come up with a different perspective of every fucking thing, every situation. And oh, what the fuck? It's called a matter of perspective. I just peeped. Wow. But no, that was great. That was real cool. So yeah, y'all stay tuned with me, and we just gonna keep going over different chapters in this book, because baby, I done already went through some of them, and I ain't even talked to y'all about them, and mostly because these were the things that I need to go through with myself. Yeah, these are the things that I need to go through with myself, and just really sit with myself and ask God what it is that you want from me. But yeah, I don't even know what else to say. I really think that this moment in life is really just about like eternal growth, and just the pure fact that like energy is changing, and it's constantly and rapidly moving. And that being said, we have to be more conscious of what it is that we're creating in our lives. And that's been my biggest lesson. It's like monitoring what is going on in my mind and how I'm allowing things to manifest within my life. So for instance, like the panic in me, like the anxious masculine energy within me that like really has this distinct desire to like literally just plow through shit and just get everything done, and I don't even know what else. Like, it's just more so very like, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. But it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it makes me want to go into overdrive with everything that I do, because I feel like I'm not doing enough. So, being that I'm somebody who didn't grow up with a father inside my home, I've never felt like, I don't know, I've never felt taken care of by a male. So, I have gone through life not trusting men. To an extent, like I don't trust them, but at the same time, like the ones that I do actually trust be crooks. And I really believe it's because like my dad was a fucking crook. Like, if we're gonna be honest, let's just put it out there. My dad was a fucking crook. He was a crook. He probably still got crook ways to him. You know what I'm saying? And my mom was somebody who falls for crooks. So me me as a little girl, just knowing that this was not like, that was not gonna work for me. Like, I'm not gonna live like this. Like, I'm not gonna live in squalor. I'm not gonna live in poverty. I'm not gonna live in the pits of fucking hell because I don't love myself. And in reality, it's like it sounds so much harsher than the fuck it really is. Because once you really like pull back the layers and really start to really look at what the fuck is going on, it's because we don't love ourselves. I don't love the fact that 50% of me is my fucking father's side, and I don't know nobody on my father's side but my dad and my fucking sister. That's it. That's all. I cannot stand the fact that the other 50% of me, I also don't know that side of my family. I've only been to one family reunion. I don't like the fact that on the inside of me, I have this internal battle of, bitch, I'm better than this, but then, bitch, no, the fuck you're not. Like, and it's more so like a battle of, I want better for myself, so I deserve that and I can get that, versus like, oh, you think you deserve better, no the fuck you don't, because you only think you deserve better because you think you're better than other people, and that's not the case. It's just that I don't feel like nobody deserves to live a certain type of way, like, period. I don't give a good goddamn what's going on, depending on what you've done in life. But I don't know, I just feel like when we start to peel back those layers, it really stems from us, the internal battle that we have within us. And it all comes from not having that self love, like, not having that unconditional self love. Like, bro, it's one thing to love self, but it's another thing to love self unconditionally. Like, you gotta love yourself regardless of what the fuck you look like. Like, and I mean dead ass. Like, I'm talking about eye boogers, crust, you fucking must, bitch, all of that. Like, you supposed to be able to love yourself through all of that. You supposed to love yourself when you broke, when you sick, when you don't have a car, when you don't have a ride, when you do have a ride, when you don't have the freshest outfit on, when you do got the freshest outfit on, when you don't have the opportunity to do what the fuck you want to do, versus when you do have the opportunity. You supposed to love yourself unconditionally. We get into this cycle, which, once again, this shit was created by society to have these self-esteem issues. Because if we gonna be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff that was created so that we have, like, I don't want to say created so that we can have these issues, but like, it just made life harder. For instance, this one's gonna be kind of controversial because I don't know if anybody's gonna really hear what I'm saying, but like, we all are born without clothes. When the beginning of like human life was forming, they did not wear any clothes. Nowadays, we spend so much money on stuff like clothes, which, I mean, are necessary, if like, especially during like the winter and shit like that. It's of course necessary, but we basically, it's like, it's a trickle down, it's a trickle up effect, because it's like, you thinking that you're helping do something when you're really making it fucking worse. Like, you're thinking, okay, let's make this fucking electronic car that only runs on electricity, but you gotta use a fuck ton of electricity to power that motherfucker, which in turn creates about the same amount of pollution as your fossil fuel car. About, I said about the same, not exactly the same, it's about the same amount. But even then, like, when we meditate with ourselves, like, about what's next, we can have interruptions, and there can be things that like try to deter you. Like, we're our own biggest enemy, which is why self-love is so key to life. um that voice in our head, that be us. beating the fuck out of us, like beating the fuck out of ourselves. That be us telling ourselves we're not good enough, telling ourselves that we can't make it, telling ourselves that we won't prosper. That be us. That be the most nastiest, unhealed, angriest, saddest fucking parts of us that just don't want to be healed. But we gotta detach ourselves from those thoughts and those ideals and those voices because they aren't us truly. Like, it's the distorted version of us. Either you can be your divine or you can be your distorted. Like, it's up to you. That's where free will comes in as well. But yeah, um basically, in conclusion, just listen for God's words and not for man's words. Don't think that. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna hit somebody in their gut right here. Every person that says something to you and gives you some advice is not coming straight from God. Please, for the love of God, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the high road, the high and mighty, baby, the blessed road, the divine road is not easy. So anybody who try to act like they don't got no battle wounds, no battle scars, baby, they probably not angelic. They can't be. Cause the enemy, when the enemy sees an angel, they don't let that motherfucker go about life unscathed. That's the whole point of this realm. But I digress. I hope you guys my rutilated cords fell off my head as soon as I finished this, but so that just goes to show, bitch, I'm talking straight from the ancestors. But I hope you guys enjoyed this book club meeting because baby, this right here is really chicken soup for the soul. Like, it really warms you up and does exactly what the fuck is necessary. It just reminds you that God is still here and that God moves in so many different ways than just, oh, I go to church on Sunday and I get prayed for and that's it. Like, God moves every day. God moves in every story. God moves in every way, all that. So yes, and peace and love. Ashe.